Welcome to your next step up the self-publishing mountain.
I'm Matilda Swift, author of quintessentially British cozy mysteries.
And I'm Samantha Cummings, author of young adult books about magic, myths and monsters.
I've written the books,
Changed their covers,
tweaked their blurbs,
tried tools from a dozen ads courses.
and I'm still not seeing success.
Now, we're working together to plot and plan our way from barely making ends meet to pulling in a living wage.
Join us on our journey where we'll be mastering the pen to snag that paycheck.
Hello, and welcome to Pen to Paycheck Authors Podcast. I'm Sam Cummings, here with my co-host Matilda Swift, and we're here to write our way to financial success. We're two indie authors with over a dozen books between us and still a long way to go towards the quit the day job dream. If that sounds familiar, listen along to our mastery through missteps journey. Each week, we cover a topic to help along the way. This week's topic is going to be resources and platforms. But before we do that, let's do our wins and whinges of the week. So, Matilda, share with us, please, what are your wins and whinges?
I am all win this week. For anyone watching the video, I am wearing a beautiful sort of buttercup yellow hoodie, which has the Pen to Paycheck Authors logo on there, beautifully designed by yourself. It looks fantastic. It feels very comfy. I feel so professional. So it's a big win. I feel like a real pro. The other thing is I made a reading nook in my house. I think I mentioned that last week. And this week I added some finishing touches to it. I turned a little plate rack, that's what you might put as like a drying rack by your sink, on its side, drilled it to the wall, made it a little kind of cute rustic looking bookshelf where you just slot in books. And then I also added an LED sign that says do what you love with a big pink heart next to it, and it lights up and I just sit in there and read by the light of that sign, listening to music from my childhood because I brought down all the CDs from my dad's attic that go with the hi-fi that's in there. So it just is like the coziest, most self-indulgent nook. So you've got a little bag hung on the wall labeled snacks. I just want to live in there. So that is my absolute big win. And then my other one that we'll come on to a little bit more in a minute is that I did what I said I was going to do, and I actually made an author business plan. Amazing. It's pink and beautiful, comes from the Spa Girls. If anyone's wanting to get this, it is a free resource provided by the Spa Girls, which is the Spa Girls podcast, SPA, self-publishing authors podcast. It was episode 429, how to create your author business plan. In it, they mentioned there are all sorts of free resources from Joanna Penn. If you Google Joanna Penn, Penn with a double N, you can also find a business plan resources from her. But I really like the Spa Girls one because it is A, pink and beautiful, and B, it really walks you through every single step that you need. And the podcast kind of talks you along with it. Doesn't talk you through all the details, but keeps you company while you're doing it. And is very comprehensive without being overwhelming. So I feel like I've really won everything this week. Have you also had a winning week?
I have had a winning week. I started my business plan. I did not finish, but that's fine. Like, I'm still like happy that I did that. I also did like good grown-up things. Registered with HMRC finally, which I've been putting off for a very long
international
time.
listeners, what's HMRC?
I don't know what it stands for, even though like I've dealt with it my entire life. It's like
I'm going to guess, and I'm pretty sure it's His Majesty's Revenue Collection, something like that.
Revenue and Customs.
Revenue and Customs. Oh, for all those customs that we deal with. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's the tax company, the tax man.
They are our tax governing body. So I finally registered as self-employed, which like I've been putting off for years.
And you don't have to do it in the UK until you reach a certain level. So it's not that you've been a tax dodger. You have not been required to.
100%. You have to. Well, they say like you don't really have to do it unless you're earning over £1,000 in income, and I have not. So I always put it off. But yeah, I've finally done that just so it's done, and I'm like setting myself up for success because I will make over £1,000 of income.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm super happy about that, and I also set up a business account, bank account. So I'm going to be doing all of my completely legal dealings through my business, like obviously my illegal dealings through my personal account. Yeah, my business account is going to be where everything goes in and comes out. So I've got clear view of everything, and I feel like a human being and not just like a troll that lives under a bridge with a laptop.
Yeah, with like some gold coins in your pocket, figuring out what to do with them.
Yeah, like, I'll continue the wins because I also started posting on the podcast Instagram account and telling people that the podcast was here, and that's been really like we've had both of us have had such good feedback from people about it. So thank you to everybody who's listening and everyone who's given feedback. It's very nice to hear that people are like, oh, that's a great idea, thanks very much. So pats on the backs for us and high fives for everyone.
Absolutely. And if anyone's listening, do share the podcast, people that are in the same boat as you that want some more self-publishing advice. I have had really great feedback. I put it in a Cozy Authors Facebook group that is for, in fact, something I'm going to mention later, a Clubhouse group, which I'm just making a note of to mention because I forgot to mention that in my list of resources. But yes, I put it in there, and Cozy Authors are all super nice. So everyone just gave really positive, lovely feedback. But we've had some great downloads, and yeah, please do share the news, spread the info to anyone that you think might find it useful.
Yes.
Okay, so we're now to our topic of the week, which is one that I felt I knew loads about. Like, I wouldn't really have to do a lot of preparation. And then as soon as I sat down to start the process of recording this podcast, I realized I haven't written anything down. And things like, oh, I forgot to mention Clubhouse. There's a lot of stuff that we take for granted. So we'll go on our topic for the week, which is platforms and resources, which I don't know if you're like me, but I think a lot of them go unnoticed. So it'd be a good time to kind of do a bit of reckoning and share some information with people who are maybe not using the same platforms we are, or just want some information on what other people are using.
Yes. Who wants to go first, really? Because I feel like I have less. Okay, so I'm just going to put this out there to everybody who's listening. Matilda is far more in the deep end when it comes to all of the stuff, I think, and I'm very much still paddling in the kiddie pool for a lot of things. So I know that I'm going to have far less than Matilda. So I'll do my little.
Can I just interrupt there then?
Ones.
What do you think has previously stopped you finding out about platforms and other resources you could be using?
My not wanting to spend money mentality, and my head in the sand, trying my being a troll under a bridge with a laptop and gold coins mentality.
But I do think it's a lot of work to find out about these things. I think
it is.
We've talked about it before, I am big on all the sort of learner intellection strengths from Clifton Strengths. I love learning about these things. So as I mentioned before, I have a friend who is a very successful self-published author who I sat down, I took her to a very nice afternoon tea that I got given as a present, and I just used the opportunity to bombard her with all my questions. And she said, use this, don't use this, try this, here's X, Y, and Z you can be doing. And that felt like such a shortcut. And I cannot imagine what it would be like to come into it without somebody to tell you all that. So that's kind of what I'm hoping it will be useful today, is if we go through things, and it will be like I never know how to pronounce the word. Is it primer or primer? I think Americans say primer, and I would say primer, on tools that you can use or that it's worth you looking into and considering as a kind of relatively newer author. Yes.
So my first thing that I'm going to mention, which I actually didn't think about until just this second, is Facebook groups. I think that being involved in Facebook groups is a fantastic resource. Just things from finding other authors in your genre, finding readers of your genre and finding out what they're reading and what they're into. And also I think one that I didn't know about until another author friend told me about was Facebook groups to do pre-made book covers. Which, and up until that point, I didn't know that existed until my friend told me about it. And then I was like, oh, okay. There are people
How
out
do you
there.
find Facebook groups that are useful?
I mostly, if I'm being honest, I've been suggested ones by friends. And I also just kind of, in the search bar in Facebook, type in, obviously I'm writing for young adults, so I type in young adult writers. And then just see the suggested ones that come up. And personally, I kind of look for groups that have got around 1,000 to 2,000 people in. Because and maybe a little bit more, but sometimes I find the bigger groups are a bit too overwhelming, or there's kind of too much going on for me to keep up. But you just have to find your own personal sweet spot of how much you want to be invested and how much time you want to spend and stuff. So yeah, I think like
I think
Facebook
I tend to look
groups
at frequency of posting. So I'm looking at like
frequency,
a group that is posting. It tells you how many times I post a week. If it's not posting last week, I'm not going to join. It's not active enough
Yes.
to be worthwhile being a member of.
Yeah. Yes, you want to be somewhere where people are like Ariel. So
Yeah. So I would say if you're brand new, one to just get started with, which is a really, really big group, is the 20 bucks to 50k group, which I don't know whether it's going to change its name at some point. I think currently there's no plans to, but I know 20 bucks to 50k as a brand is separated some things off. So I can imagine at some point they will, end up developing or changing in some direction. But currently it's called 20 bucks to 50k. If you Google that, you can probably figure out what it's called if it's ever changed its name. These things do go away sometimes. There used to be K-boards, which was a really, really big forum online in the Writers Cafe. It was called Kindle Boards for a while. I think they got made to change the name to K-boards. It used to be really active in like the beginning of self-publishing, and now you can still go on there, but it is really empty. And these groups do change, but it's good to start with a big one. People in there sometimes recommend smaller groups. So 20 bucks to 50k is a good one to start with. You can tell from the title kind of what the mentality is. So it might not be that it 100% fits with your idea of what you want to get out of self-publishing, but it's a good group to start with and to see what things are being mentioned often, to at least give you an idea of, what to pay attention to, whether you like or don't like it.
Yeah, you get equal amounts of enthusiastic feelings of joy and hope, and mixed with the, oh my god, how would I ever compete or do what they're doing? But the good stuff, like the highlights that make you feel good and like you're on like a path where you can achieve things, is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic group.
Yeah,
I do love
and
that
you can
one.
search for a solution to a problem if you've got one just by searching in there.
Yes,
It's probably been answered before.
Because most of my platforms are free with the option to buy like accounts and things, but as a cheapskate, I always go for the free versions.
I would say a
Canva
bootstrapper maybe is a nicer way of thinking about it.
I'm a cheapskate. I'm a saver, is what I am. I love.
Thrifty.
I'm thrifty. I love Canva, and I'm gonna list that as one of my most used platforms.
Yeah, it's on my list as well. Absolutely love it. What do you use it for?
For all sorts of social posts, coming up with
our logo.
designing logos. I made our logo on there. Book covers, or even maybe not even like final book covers, but I love storyboarding book covers in Canva. And like mood boards. I love doing a mood board, so I tend to do a lot of mood boards, and like book promo-y things. Do
you share those with readers, the mood boards?
Yes. Yeah, so I do. I tend to post them on socials, and I put them in my emails as well. I love doing that. I would say in connection to Canva, I use a website called BookBrush, which is where you can get mock-ups of your books done. And I've got a free account there. You get a limited amount of things that you can generate, and then I'll then whack them into Canva and fancy them up.
And when you say mock-ups, do you use the 3D
yes,
ebooks and paperback books?
Yeah, and they do the really cool cover design. The cover reveal is the word I'm looking for. The cover reveal ones where it's like the book with paper on it and like a bit torn out, which you can see all over when people are teasing their books and stuff. And so that's a really cool one.
Yeah, that is what I use it for as well.
A book coming
I feel
out,
like it's slightly
really cool.
Like I think because I'm so used to Canva, I feel like BookBrush is sometimes slightly counterintuitive. I'm like, I know this tool in here that does the thing I want to do, and I can't find which section it's under. So it can be frustrating, but it's so worth it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it janky to its face though, because it's really trying hard and it's really got a great set of tools now.
It's trying hard. It's not happy to show you what's kind of free and not free. It really wants you to figure it out by clicking. So it's not very intuitive, but it does have the things you need. Mostly, I would say like 90% of the time I get what I want, and then if I can't like access something, then I just like take a book cover out, download it, whack it over to Canva, and finish off what I'm doing. So it's a good one. I'm going to mention this, although I know that this is kind of a privileged position, but I do have Photoshop. Adobe is a very expensive tool to have, an expensive resource. I get it through my day job, and I do put it to use. So, I do like having Photoshop, but there are free versions that you can get online. There's one called Photopea, which is basically exactly the same as Photoshop, and
Is
it's
that
free.
photo and then PIA, Photopia? That's how I
I
pronounce
think
it.
it's PEA.
PEA. Okay.
Photopea. I don't know. I never know if I'm pronouncing things right, but that is a basic clone of Photoshop. Free, very easy to use. You can do everything that Photoshop can do. It's just
Is it browser based? I feel like I've used it before and it is good.
browser based. Yes.
Yeah.
So I've used it before when I've been like locked out. I get locked out of all my accounts. I'm just going to put that out there. I touch breaks. So it's always nice to know there's an online version of something that you can use. So if you don't want to pay for an Adobe suite, Photopea is a very nice alternative. What else have I got here? I'll list Trello as one of my most used. Trello is a like a planning tool, which is kind of like a pinboardy way to sort out your thoughts and stuff. So I tend to use it to plan stories. I know that other people plan stories in spreadsheets and things. I like to use Trello boards. There's another name for it. Is it Kanban boards? Is like the term?
I feel that's what you call it if you're a super professional. So
I use it for my day job.
Yeah.
Yes, a Kanban.
But I think a Kanban is when it's set up in a very specific way, and I think Kanbans you move them along depending on their state. So whether like started, done, completed.
Yes. So
I use it at work
to do that
as just a to-do list.
Yes, okay. Same. I use them at work. Yeah. So I love Trello.
And it's free. You get the free account is more than you possibly need. Yeah.
100%. I mean, I have run out of boards, but it's only because I like set up boards for all sorts of things, and then I'm like, well, I can delete this board because I actually don't need it. So I just do all my planning on there. It's fantastic. Other free things. Let's not forget email systems, MailChimp or MailerLite. I use MailChimp. And I will be moving to... Yes, I know. I am moving...
That sounds so shocked. What? I feel like it's because everybody moved like 2 years ago who had a paid account because MailChimp got so atrociously expensive for paid accounts.
I still have the free account.
I don't know anyone else is on MailChimp still.
Yeah, I have the free account. I didn't move away from it because obviously I'm not paying, but also I have all of my automations set up, and I have it's such a big admin job to move it over to MailerLite, but I am like 90% there. So at the end of this month, I will be on MailerLite, but right now I'm MailChimp. So if you're looking for a free account, it's good enough. MailerLite is a much nicer system to use. But yeah, MailChimp's fine.
Yeah, I think. I'm with MailerLite. I'm going to have to move inside MailerLite from the classic to the new, which I'm really looking forward to because you can't transfer your automations. And again, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. But actually, I think it'll be so useful because I've got so many janky old automations that I haven't looked at that probably have some dead ends, or they accidentally go in a circle, or they refer to a book that isn't the right. Oh, it's like a brand new book and it was out 2 years ago. So I have on my to-do list every month, I like review things like your automations, review websites. I don't do it, and I haven't built in a way to do that. So I feel like at least with MailerLite forcing me to do it, I am appreciative while resentful.
Yes. And you just mentioned another thing that probably we should mention is websites. So website is a resource. It's a platform that I think that you should have. I know that there are people out there who believe that they don't need a website, and I get it because it's an investment and it's a continuous investment, and sometimes you don't see it as being important because you think people can just go to Amazon or something, but I personally love going on other authors' websites and seeing what they're doing and signing up to mailing lists and stuff, so I love it. And also I make and do websites as like for a living, so I'm like really into websites. And I use Squarespace. And I have used every kind of website you can imagine. I've been on them all. I've tweaked them all. I've like done other people's websites, and I just I like Squarespace personally.
Do you get your domain through Squarespace as well?
Yes. Yeah, so it's all tied in, which is nice. I've used Wix before, but for like I've done work on other people's websites. Wix, I don't personally like Wix. Obviously, WordPress is like the one that a lot of people use. WordPress is a good one, and I would say that I probably
it's not easy. I would say is the issue with WordPress.
WordPress is not got unless you use it a lot. The operating system, like the whole behind the scenes stuff, is really complicated because they have their kind of their WordPress.com stuff, which is like what most people are using, uses the exact same admin as WordPress.org, and that's like the more robust system, but it doesn't really translate back. It just makes it overly complicated. But if you know what you're doing, but
and if you're not aware, WordPress.com is meant to be the easier, sort of more drag and droppy for anyone. WordPress.com, and WordPress.org is meant to be you can build it, you can really customize it quite a lot. I would say they're both not wildly user friendly for somebody who doesn't love tech or like use some sort of tech in their day-to-day job. I've got .org, and I think it puts me off doing changes because it's a lot of work. Just to remember where things are again. It's not actually, and like I use WordPress.org in my day job. I'm regularly in it. But like I'm regularly in it, but it's just like it's I think like a lot of things you talk about recently, like it's a lot of like decision fatigue. You have to think about it. You have to look again at where it is. It's not just like, oh, hop and do that. But like you only update it every couple of months. So it's the drain that I don't really want.
Yeah. Squarespace, I think. What's the other one? Shopify, I guess if you're looking to, well, Squarespace has paid like shop options as well, but they're like very easy to manage and have nice drag and drop elements. The user interface is very friendly, very modern and very intuitive. Everything is where you expect it to be. So I really, really enjoy Squarespace. I have got 2 or 3 websites that I look after on Squarespace, and I think it's a nice one. It's not too expensive. I think I pay maybe $250 a year. And then my domain is like £16 a year or something. So like it's, you know, if you look at it over its like what kind of value it offers, I think that it's a nice amount to pay for a year. I'm happy with that. So websites are great. Are you considering maybe moving to a different provider?
No, I can't. I don't want to do the effort. I don't want to do the work of it. I definitely want to overhaul my website, but I think because I use WordPress.org in my daily life, I find it very manageable to make the changes. I just don't want to. So I just need to, like with everything this year, I'm trying to make myself better systems. A lot of it is there are a lot of things in self-publishing that you maybe only do at publication time, or you maybe only do a couple times a year that you think you're going to remember and you don't remember. So this year, one of my big projects is make myself some process charts and just follow those and stop having to relearn everything every time.
Yeah.
So I will be sticking with WordPress, but I don't think it's the funnest part of what I do.
Yeah, that sucks. But if you're going to stick with it, on your head be it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I think my last thing, and this will definitely be a source of contention for you, is that I have Vellum, which is a formatting software.
And it's not free.
And it's not free, but it was a one payment deal. So when I have to pay for something once, I'm like, yeah, I can do that. One payment, I can afford it. Don't have to think about it again. And it's funny because I don't actually really often format my own books because I've got a friend who I have got a formatter, and she tends to work on my books. I just have it as like a backup for formatting like arcs and things to send out to people because it's a lot quicker for me to be able to format my arcs.
The files from her, the formatting files, so you can edit stuff? Or do you have to send her edits?
I have to send her edits. Yeah,
because I think that's the main reason why people get Vellum is because they they don't want to have to update back matter with somebody. You have to pay for every time you do that. So Vellum is
She's very nice. She does it for free.
Yeah, we don't all have formatting friends. So some people do pay for formatter, or they buy something like Vellum, or Atticus, I think, does the same job, where you, and when we say formatting, we mean turning what is your Word file into whatever ebook formats you need. And I don't do that. So I could talk about it in a minute, but I might talk about it now. So I use Drafter Digital. And Drafter Digital is a completely free tool, which you upload your manuscript, you upload your Word file, you upload your cover, you've had to, in your Word file, format certain things. You've had to format your headers. You've had to, that's maybe the only thing you have to do. Anyway, make sure your chapter headers have got chapter headers, that they're not just text. And then it picks it up and it knows to put them on certain pages. It's got ebook version, it's got a paperback version, I think it's even got a hardbook version. So you just go through and you format each of those, and then it spits out the file that you need, and you put it into Amazon. And the reason why I feel fine to do that for Cozy Mysteries is because it's not a highly visual type of ebook. So it doesn't need a fancy chapter header. It just needs the number 1 at the top, and that's done. It just doesn't need like a, big capital fancy letters at the beginning of chapters. It doesn't need style. Like, you don't notice it missing in the way that you would do in YA fantasy, for example. So I would say, if I can remember that phrase where like you cut your cloth to match your purse, wallet, I don't know what the phrase is.
Something like that.
Yeah. As in, I think a lot of people as a default will buy a program like Vellum, thinking they need it, and you absolutely don't need it. In fact, I would say you flat don't need it, and I think that is why it's contentious. I think you absolutely don't need it.
Yeah.
I think it is a luxury that if your genre is more likely to have people who like some sort of visual elements in their books, that you should consider it as an add-on. But I don't think you need it. I think a lot of people act like you need it, and you can make an incredibly easy, good-looking ebook, paperback as well, with Drafter Digital, and it is such a good service.
I agree.
Very
I
user-friendly.
think for the majority of people just writing fiction or like cozy mysteries, for majority of the genres, I think having a drop cap, having a chapter image, or fun little stylistic things throughout a book, if it's not a thing in your genre, don't pay for it, because you're paying for frills when like people don't want frills. For young adult books, obviously, my genre, people expect the fancy fonts, the scene breaks to have little illustrated things, or like tiny images that represent which character POV you're in, and all that fun stuff. So it was an investment that I was happy to make, but I wouldn't suggest it for everybody.
And the same for using a formatter. I think a lot of people send stuff to formatters, and I think they especially do that when they first start because they think it's going to be really hard to do. I think it did used to be really hard to do. It used to be incredibly tedious and difficult to do with a Word document, and you would try it and make a mistake. It's a bit like trying to put graphics, like images, in a Word document. You would try it, and then instantly you move something, it would get absolutely messed up. It's not like that anymore. You use Drafter Digital, at least try it. Is a great service that I sort of can't believe people give away for free. So thank you, Drafter Digital.
We will wait for their check in the mail.
I mean, I will give them a check one day. They are fantastic. They also, I mean, that's not what they really do, right? What they really do is they distribute books, but for free, they will also let you make your ebooks and paperback books with them, the files that you need to upload to Amazon and the other platforms.
Well, that is a fantastic service. So everybody go and create an account and just get to formatting. I think that's everything.
That's everything on your list. Okay.
Yes, that's everything on my list.
I've got a really long list. I thought today would be a really short episode.
No, I had a feeling that your list would be a lot longer than mine.
It is, but I'm going to just zip through some of them because some of them are similar to what you've had, or it's just worth mentioning and then people can look them up if they want to go and look into it. I would say, like you, I'm not willing to spend money on a product if I don't need it. And I think there's enough products out there and enough courses out there, enough resources out there that want your money, that you should be very careful about what you spend money on. I think there's some things that I spent money on that I don't get enough use out of, and on my to-do list is things like make sure you find a way to get a better use out of this, just because it's maybe slightly difficult to use, or I don't need to use it. It's like if I had bought vellum, I wouldn't use it, I wouldn't get the use out of it. And yeah, what else do people have? What's the one that they do all their formatting in, like what they do all their, instead of Word?
Scrivener.
Yeah, again, if I had Scrivener, I probably wouldn't use it because I get frustrated. I'd be like, I'll just use Word, it's easy enough. So I think there are platforms and resources that lots of people use and lots of people really like that you don't need to use. And I would say trial the free thing first before you think you have to do it. So
yes.
also things that I definitely...
I was just going to say, Scrivener will hold your things hostage, because when they changed to, like, well, for me personally, they upgraded their systems and decided that my computer was no longer a viable option for them. They basically cut me out and then told me that the only way to get my files was to find somebody basically with an account who could get them for me and send them, because I could no longer access them. I'm sure I've got a few books that I have lost because of that. So I'm very wary of Scrivener. And
yeah. I've had great experiences with them as well. I think people who love it really love it. Yes. But yeah, and like with any of these things, like you don't own it, right? Like I have Microsoft 365, I no longer even own Word. Like when it's gone, it's gone. But I feel confident I could very easily get the files out again. Everyone's got Word, whereas not everyone's got Scrivener. It is, you're dealing with another possible obstacle in your path if something goes wrong.
Yes.
So I'll try and run through mine relatively quickly. Some of them are similar to yours, but just I use slightly different things. So I use MailerLite instead of MailChimp, which I think a lot of people, there are lots and lots of other options out there. I keep hearing Flowdesk around quite a lot, that people are switching to, because it's worked to switch from the old MailerLite to new MailerLite. People are kind of taking that chance to reevaluate things. I am sticking with MailerLite. I use it for work, so I'm very familiar with it. I think the help desk is actually incredibly good. The help staff there are really, really good. I don't know, I would say part of it is because I think they're based in Europe, so they're often available at my times, though I don't know. I think I maybe email them at weird times of day. But yeah, anyway, they're excellent, and they can resolve anything, and they've got a lot of help resources online, and the tools, like the actual builder is really simple and looks very good. So yeah, really like MailerLite. It's not even that expensive as you grow. It feels very reasonable as you get more and more subscribers. It doesn't hit a point like MailChimp changed to do, because it came to be not really just for email people. It wanted to be a broader product. So as soon as you went up certain categories, it would just balloon in cost, and it wasn't really set up for people who are self-publishing. Whereas MailerLite is really inclusive. You can definitely use it as a self-published author. You can feel like, if my mailing list is this size, I'm probably bringing this much money. That means the cost for the package is reasonable. So yeah, I love that. One thing that I always sort of think of as being paired with it, they're integrated and I use them together, is BookFunnel. There's also Story Origin is another similar one that I have tried. I found that Story Origin didn't have enough group promos that suited me. So BookFunnel is a place where you put your book, and it's a way that you can give your book away in a controlled manner. So either you can have it completely unlisted and use it to send out ARCs, advanced reader copies, or even prize copies. There's a few different ways you might want to use it, and it tracks them very well. Or you can have a free book on there. So I have got my prequel novellas on there, which I also have as paperback versions on Amazon, but I don't have the ebook versions on there because I am, in fact, they do have the ebook, but they're not in KDP. That's what I was going to say. I'm in KDP for the rest of my books, but not for those. So I can put them on here. And I give them away. I join group promos, which means other authors who have got similar audiences to mine will put a link in their newsletter saying 60 free cozy mysteries this week. And their readers love cozy mysteries. They'll download them. They'll then go on to read the other books in my series. I have found it incredibly beneficial. Some people, and I don't know if it's genre specific or just their experience, some people find it or they experience it as building a big audience of people who are really only interested in free books. But I really, for a long time, didn't do anything else that was like marketing or advertising, and I made plenty of sales that way. So BookFunnel is great. People sign up. You can click to say they have to sign up to newsletter or they don't have to, and then the email goes through to your list and mail light. So it's fantastic. It's not very expensive, and again, the support team there is wonderful. Like, they are incredibly supportive. They also help read a lot, so it means a lot to be able to send out an email and say, get these free books. If you've got a problem, the BookFunnel people will help you, rather than, I'm so sorry, I don't know how BookFunnel works. I can't get the book for you. The technical capacity is beyond me. You don't have to say that. You don't have to think about it. BookFunnel people are incredibly helpful. But yes, likewise, there is Story Origin. There is also Prolific Works. Those are two other sites that you can consider. I think they both have free versions, but for me, I have really found BookFunnel to be the most suitable to my genre and the use I put it to, but worth having a look at all of them. Then I have mentioned Drafted Digital. You've mentioned Canva and BookBrush, both of which are on my list. Another thing that's on my list is Books to Read, and that is 2 with a 2. And Books to Read is really good because I'm a UK-based author, but most of my audience is based in the US, but not all of them. And in Books to Read, what you do is you put in your book link. I put in Amazon because that's where my books are. I don't have them anywhere else, but you can just put in a link and it will find your book elsewhere as well. You can put in the ISBN, it will find your book wherever it is. It collates all of the links that you have into a universal link. So you can just put this link and you can personalize it. So I have links that are just the title of my book. So it'll be, the link is like Books to Read / The Slay of the Land, my first book. I can put that anywhere. So I link that in my newsletter. When someone clicks on it, it either takes them to a little landing page which says like, pick your platform, Amazon, Kobo, whatever you are, pick your country, and it'll know like UK, US, and it can remember the settings. But the first time it goes through, you have to click that, but it helps you put one link in and know it's going to take everyone to where they belong, rather than saying, I think everyone's in the US, let me put just the US Amazon link in. Not everyone wants Amazon, not everyone wants the US only. Books to Read is great. Also free. They are fantastic. It is a great service, very, very easy, and it remembers all of your links. You can log in and find them all. I think it's actually made by the Drafted Digital people, if I remember correctly. Both of them have got a 2 for the TO, it's the number 2, so I would guess that is correct. My other platform is KDP. So if I think it's worth thinking of KDP as a resource rather than just like people kind of mix up the terms Amazon and KDP. Also worth, I think, just thinking and making sure you've got the right kind of pages open. So there is the KDP home where you put all your books. There's the KDP reports where you get all your information out. So there are various tools that come out of being KDP. Sort of similarly, I also have Book Report, which is free up to a certain level, which I can't remember what it is. But Book Report, it gives you a lot of the same information as the KDP reports, but you can process it much more easily over time. So it gives you nice pie charts. You can look at countries, formats. You can look at which books sell more and which ones sell more in different places. It's a nice way of looking at things, trends over time. So I would recommend Book Report. It is, as far as I'm aware, just run by one guy who is, again, very good support. I think that is the overriding theme of companies that work well in self-publishing spaces. You have to give good support because we are not tech.
I have recently stumped him.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm just leaving him alone for a bit.
I think this is probably a you problem though, right? Just link back to your...
It's 100% a me problem. My aversion to technology, or technology's aversion to me, which is what I said to him. Like, I don't think this is a Book Report problem. I think this is a Sam problem. So
yeah,
I'm going to wait till like next week, but then I'm going to email him again. It's a great way to build a relationship with someone.
Exactly, and he's very personable.
Good working relationship. Yes.
But yeah, so Book Report is a great thing to and all you have to do is link and authorize it to access your KDP, and it accesses the information from there in a different format. Another thing that I have that is sort of connected to KDP. It used to be called KDP Rocket. It's now changed its name to Publisher Rocket. So if you hear either of those, it's the same product. This is a product that I have that I do not use enough. It is on my list of, it's on my to-do list of make more use of Publisher Rocket. I bought it because I bought it before I really needed it. At some point, it's going to go to a subscription model. They've been quite open about that. But when I bought it, it was just a single fee, and it was a forever fee. So I was like, I'll just buy it now because I know at some point I'll want it. It's great for competitor research. It's great for keyword research, and I don't do enough of either of those. So it's got category info. You can look by country, look up books in it, and it gives you loads of information. You can look up a competitor book and see what categories it's listed under. You can look up people and see their ranking. Tons of information you can look up. It's great. It's it does almost too much for me right now, and I just need to make better use of it. So worth looking up and worth finding out if you think it's useful to you. Publisher Rocket. I believe it's by the same people that make Atticus. Is that correct?
Yes,
by Dave Chesson, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Worth just going on Dave Chesson's website because he's got loads of information on there. He constantly gives away like free resources, free information. He's very up, especially
good.
on especially up on like keywords and categories. Really knows.
Yeah.
As soon as those change, go to Dave Chesson's website and find out what he's telling you to do about it.
Subscribe to the emails, and you will get such good information sent directly to you. It's he does a great job. Very inclusive, and you really get a lot of value from being involved in some way in what he's doing. Yeah, and I'd just like to say as well, for the next 23 hours, this probably won't help people because we're not going to publish this till Wednesday, but it's currently only $97 for a lifetime license. So
okay, I think that's pretty much what I bought it for. So I think there are relatively regular sales on it. So I would say pick a time that you think is likely to be a sale in the US. Like maybe Independence Day or Thanksgiving, and I'd guess probably a sale on around then. Yeah. But yeah, I think I don't get enough value out of it, but I think that's a me problem, not a Dave Chesson and Publisher Rocket problem. Other things on my list, I've got Goodreads, which, in fact, no, I'm going to put another one down with Goodreads. I'm going to do Goodreads and BookBub together. So Goodreads and BookBub are both places that you should just make sure you are listing your books, that the listings are correct for all of your books, that when you change the cover, you change it on both of those. People do not like to have the wrong cover on Goodreads. They are very particular about it. I have received complaints because I put up a sort of a placeholder cover before I put up a cover on a pre-order occasionally, and it will feed through to Goodreads, and if you don't correct it, people say, oh, it's a shame the right cover isn't here. Which I get, and it's great. It's a social platform for like engaging with something you love. You want it to look correct.
The downside I find of Goodreads is you can't really update your own stuff. So once you've put stuff on, you can't change your author name, and you can't often change your book information without contacting their support team to do it for you. So that's my only downside, and something that I'm just living with.
I think I joined Goodreads long enough ago that they had different settings people that joined a while ago. So I can change quite a lot of mine. Like I can change my covers. And I know some people cannot, and like I can add a book, I can change things about books, but a lot of people cannot. And basically the tool for that is join one of the author Facebook groups that Sam mentioned and ask in there, is anybody a Goodreads librarian? Can you please help me? Because that's what they call themselves, people who can make changes.
Yes, that's a very, very good
the librarians at Goodreads, they're volunteers and they are very helpful. They're in the Goodreads forum. You can access them and ask them for help. But if you can be friendly with someone who is a Goodreads librarian, that I know goes a long way to getting things fixed for you. But I think a lot of authors try and ignore Goodreads because they have heard bad things about it. In some genres, it can be a bit of a toxic place looking at reviews. People get very concerned when they see a 1-star review and they think, oh, it's a 1-star review. Sometimes people on Goodreads, I don't know if it's true, but I hear it a lot. They will 1-star something as a way to say, I want to read this. And they come back and they look at their 1-star reviews and they know what they want to read. No idea if that's true. I've heard it often, but also I don't really care. I think generally Goodreads is not for authors, it's for readers. That's what you hear a lot. Reviews are not for authors, they're for readers. Your job in interacting with Goodreads, if you only want one job, is just to make sure your listings are correct. That is what you can do for readers. It can be helpful if you are not going to be upset by it, and there's no point upsetting yourself. If you're not going to be upset by it, it is worth looking at the reviews on there to see are consistent things coming up. I think it's worth knowing that Goodreads reviews are lower than Amazon reviews because it's a social network. You're reviewing things for your friends, and people can be very honest on that. So you often find it is like a good start point lower.
The people that use Goodreads use it in a way that's completely different than people who review books on Amazon. It is a completely different beast, and you just have to accept that.
Yeah. If you want to listen to a good episode about it, Novel Marketing, the podcast, which I think is hosted by Thomas Umstattd Jr. So Novel Marketing had an episode quite a while ago. It was called How to Use Goodreads to Promote Your Book. It's a recent one. So if you just search Goodreads on their feed, you'll find a few Goodreads posts because Goodreads changes every so often. And they used to have quite different, they often change their regulations around Goodreads giveaways. So I know in that episode, he references one that he did a year earlier and said, if you listen to this, make sure that you don't listen to the information in the previous one because it's now out of date. But that one I think is worth listening to if you think you want to make more use of Goodreads. I don't right now, but I do feel like again, cozy mystery readers are quite nice. So I don't think the reason they're very negative, but I know for some genres they really are, and people just don't read it because who needs that negativity? BookBub is also sort of a place where people will somewhat interact in the way they do on Goodreads, but not so much. But they will follow people, they will like and they'll wish they've read things. So when you publish a book, Goodreads sends out a free alert to your people who follow you. Just as Amazon does if you've got followers there. It's a little bit of a pain to try and encourage people to follow you in 17 different places, but it kind of gives them options. So I have my BookBub in the footer of my email, the like little social button, the same for Goodreads. Yeah, I think people often think of BookBub as just a place to try to get a very expensive book promo. You can also do advertising there, but it is also worth just making sure your information is up to date on there and just claim your author profile. That's definitely the minimum you have to do on both Goodreads and Amazon, Goodreads and BookBub, claim your author profile.
Yeah.
I've still got several things. I'll go very fast. Like Sam uses Trello. I love Notion, and I use Notion for organizing everything. It's more fluid and it has more different types of templates. So I think it is worth trying out Trello and Notion as ways to store information, as ways to plan your books. Both are great. Both have fantastic free options and lots of online templates. Clubhouse, I mentioned earlier, offhand. Clubhouse came about became big just before the pandemic, and I don't really know what inspired it to exist because there wasn't a hole for it. I'm not sure I would use it if other people didn't use it that I know, but it is useful. So Clubhouse is, and it sounds sort of crazy, it's a bit like old CB radio channels. So someone will set up a room, and it's like a Zoom room, but anyone can hop in. So anyone can join. There are some that are private, you have to approve to join, I think. But anyone can hop in. You have to be invited up to speak. In most rooms, that's a setting. You can put your hand up to speak. There are great Clubhouse rooms for authors. I think it can be tricky to find them. I think I only really do it because I know friends from going to self-publishing show who do it and found some great groups. And I'm in it with people that I know in real life. And they are very good. I'm in one that is just for cozies, and that's, great to be in that room where we talk about often just general self-publishing things, but with a cozy twist. So it feels very relevant. It feels worth an hour of my time once a week to listen to that. There's also a great daily one that is just for self-published authors, and you will recognize a lot of the names in there of very successful, well-known authors, but also people who are just on day one. And you see the same people in there. They talk about things that are news. So if you see an update such as the updates at the moment with all the DMARC email authorization, people discuss that so you know what's coming up, you know where to find more resources. It's a great sharing platform. I would say you can join Clubhouse and just search for maybe somebody in your genre. Ideally, you'd know a friend who could kind of show you the groups to join. But also, if you search on Facebook, most Clubhouse groups also have a Facebook group because it's quite hard to share information in the chat and in any kind of permanent way. So both the groups I'm in have Facebook associated groups. If you maybe just search Clubhouse Authors Facebook, you might find something. Has been surprisingly useful, and I find it weird but helpful. I'm down to the last sort of 2-ish things. So 2 that go together are, I use WordPress.org and it's hosted on Bluehost. The reason for that is because that's what Joanna Penn does, and Joanna Penn knows everything, so I just do what she does. And if you just Google how to set up a website and Joanna Penn, that's Penn with a double N, she has a whole page just talking you through it. I think she might have taken down her main page talking you through it, in fact, because I think the theme that I use, that she used to use, is now no longer supported or being updated. So she thinks she uses something different, but I'm sure you'll be able to find something on her site about setting up a website. I found it really intimidating to figure out hosting, and I'm not entirely sure I know what hosting is, or how I own a domain, or why it costs me so much money. I have slightly more techie friends that I send things to when I'm stuck, but it is, all you have to do is like just find an author that you trust and follow what they did, because otherwise, again, just like we said last week, you don't become a social media marketing expert. Or 2 weeks ago, you also don't want to become a website expert. Just pick the one that suits your needs and that is easy enough, and you will update it yourself. Again, this is one where, like formatting, I would not farm out, because you have to pay for every update. It is worth finding a site that you can manage yourself, because you will add books regularly to it. Last thing on my list is Ads for Authors, the Ads for Authors course, which I put on because it is something that I use fairly regularly. Huge amount of information on there. It was very expensive. The information, I think, is a wealth of information. I would not recommend everybody signs up to it at any point early in what they're doing. There are cheaper and earlier courses, even in the same company. So there's the 101 course, I think it's called Launchpad now, that they do. But I have found it useful, and I think I would have never set up Facebook ads without it. And I go to the SPS conference every year, and I love it, and it's kind of linked to people that set that up. So that is my very long list of things that I use. And I would say most of them are free, because actually, the reason why I thought I wouldn't have to do much work on it is because when I made my beautiful pink business plan, I wrote down a list of things that I pay for, and it was quite short. So I was like, I don't really use many resources, but obviously I do. It's very useful to talk about all of them, because over the next few weeks we're doing kind of lots of things about branding and the ways in which we are present as authors, and we will just keep mentioning these platforms over and over again, and it will be really hard for somebody who is kind of coming in at the newer end, who does not know what Book Funnel is, does not know what Book Report is, what BookBrush is, what Canva is. So just having like a listen through on this, and a listen to, and just start Googling from that, like just see, what is this? Are there similar products? You can always Google the name of something and then similar, and it will bring up tons of listings. So just good to have a place to start, rather than just getting a couple of years down the line and thinking, I keep hearing about Book Funnel, it's too late to ask what it is, and I don't really know now. Should I have it? Not singling you out here. I felt it pointed.
It's fine. Everyone listening, I am the bad seed.
No.
I'm here to show you. I'm like the what not to do. But that's fine. I don't mind being a lesson.
But then you have, published books without it. Like, you can do whatever you want. It's a lesson in, like, you can go about it any way you want to. Yeah. I think this is a hard mountain to climb.
Yes.
I've just listed off over a dozen platforms that I use very regularly, that I had to figure out how to use, that I have to remember different passwords for, that I have to remember where to click in each one of them every time. And it feels exhausting, and it is more exhausting to have to actually find those things from scratch without knowing anybody. So hopefully this has helped people at least get a, foot on the ladder with knowing what these things are.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I think that's. I think we can like wrap that up.
I'm so sorry. That's been such a short episode.
I know. Next week's topic, we are diving into the focused podcast on branding and being. So we're going to be talking about our niches, however you want to say it. So we're going to be really like diving into our niches where we kind of have done a little bit of work on this before we started in the podcast. So what are your thoughts right now on that?
Yeah, my thought is definitely, how do you pronounce niche or niche? I think the English pronunciation is niche, but I do really like, there's so many fun slogans in self-publishing, and people do say like niches get riches, and I do love that. It makes you feel really cool.
Yes.
So
you don't want to say
like
niches get riches.
Yeah, that sounds weird. Also, I think niches sounds a bit more like sharp and to the point. So I think I'm going to say niche, and because it was like you niche down, you can't really niche down. It sounds a bit fussy.
I niche down, but that's fine. We are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. Yes. So I think this is going to be really useful because this is the first topic that I think we really got into together, and it's one where we thought, by next week, let's have worked out our niche. And that was the first topic where we realized, like, we are starting too big with things. So I think it will be useful to come and kind of review where we're up to and what we found hard about the process of figuring out our niches and where we're at right now and what we need to do next, rather than have somebody listen to the painstaking journey of us thinking, I've made a mistake, I need to go back 10 steps. So hopefully it'll be useful. Have you got any other thoughts to add to that?
No, I think because I've been mulling over it for like a good few months. I'm just excited to get back to it because you pick so many things up when you're doing like planning and mindset stuff, and then you can't carry them all at once. So it's on a post-it on my board, niches, and so I'm so happy that I'll be able to take that off, like, and just like actually finish what I started.
Yeah, I think it's useful for us to come back to it because I think we had a lot of thoughts about like what is niche, what is branding, and then kind of what is what are we writing? Like I think it brought up a lot of existential questions that we've had to step away from and really think about. And hopefully now we come back, it is all crystallized magically in our minds, and we will know.
100%. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that next week. So by next week, I think if we can just come with a review of what we've done so far and where we want to go next, that's kind of what I'm aiming for.
Yes.
Excellent.
Sorry, I just have to write down notes when they come to my head.
Yes, that is okay.
I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really good podcast next week. So thank you very much for everyone who's listening. Welcome to what is now going to be the live updates. So we're posting every Wednesday, and we will see you then.
Bye.
Farewell.
You've been listening to Pen to Paycheck Authors.
Stay tuned for our next episode, and don't forget to subscribe to learn how to write your way to financial success.